Have you ever felt a connection with a woman that felt real, only to watch it quietly disappear? You replayed every conversation. You tried to figure out what you did wrong, and the answer never came. Maybe you were too available. Maybe you were too distant. Maybe you said the right things at the wrong time, and now you're sitting here wondering if this is just who you are. Someone who gets close but never close enough. I want you to stop right there, because what I'm about to share with you isn't about tricks. It isn't about lines or routines or pretending to be someone you're not. This is about understanding what's actually happening beneath the surface. The psychology she's running unconsciously, and the signals she sends when she wants you closer. I'm your host, and this is The Gentle Mind, where we uncover the real psychology that creates desire. And I'll warn you now, the final signal I'm going to share is incredibly powerful. It can change everything fast. And almost no one uses it correctly. Stay with me all the way through because that one alone is worth everything. Let's start with the truth nobody told you. You were never broken. You were just operating without the manual. The education system taught you mathematics and history. Your father, if he was present, taught you to work hard and stay strong. But nobody has sat you down and explained how attraction actually works in the female mind. Nobody told you that what women respond to isn't always what they describe when asked. That the brain driving her feelings operates on a level much older and much deeper than conscious thought. So when you pursued the woman who seemed interested, when you texted back quickly because you genuinely liked her, when you opened up early because you wanted real connection, you weren't weak. You were just sequencing things incorrectly. This was never a character flaw. It was a knowledge gap. And today, we close it. Here's the framework you need to understand first. Evolutionary psychology tells us that the female brain evolved over thousands of years to scan for very specific signals. Not wealth, not looks alone, not smooth words. It scans for survival cues. For strength under pressure, for a man who has options but chooses to be present. For a man who is so grounded in himself that her nervous system relaxes just being near him. These scans happen in milliseconds. Before she knows what she thinks about you, her subconscious has already formed a felt sense, a gut impression of who you are. And here's what changes everything. Those signals can be understood. They can be embodied. Once you know what she's actually reading, you stop chasing her approval and start becoming someone her psychology naturally gravitates toward. You become the reference point, not the one seeking it. Let's get into the signals, the real ones, the ones she'll never put into words but feels in every interaction. The first signal is your presence, not your appearance, your presence. There is a quality that certain men carry that women describe in different ways. Calm, centered, solid, grounded. What they're actually responding to is a man whose internal state isn't determined by external approval. When you walk into a room and you're not scanning for validation, not performing, not anxious about how you're landing, something shifts. People feel it. She feels it. Presence is communicated through your pace. Slow down your speech. Take up space without apology. Make eye contact that holds steady without aggression. When she says something, don't rush to respond. Let it land, then reply. That pause alone communicates more confidence than any well-crafted sentence. Think about the last time you were around someone who had this quality. You probably felt more at ease. You trusted them faster. You wanted to stay in the conversation longer. She experiences that same pull toward you when you carry it. Presence isn't built overnight, but it starts the moment you stop shrinking. Grounded men don't ask the room if they belong. They decide. The second signal is emotional challenge. Stay with me on this one because it's widely misunderstood. The human brain is wired to value what it works for. This isn't manipulation. This is neurochemistry. When something is effortlessly attained, dopamine response is minimal. When there's uncertainty, when there's a chase, when the outcome isn't guaranteed, the brain activates. Hard. Emotional challenge doesn't mean being cold or unavailable. It means not collapsing completely in her direction the moment she gives you attention. It means having opinions. Playfully disagreeing when you actually disagree. Teasing her about something small and laughing about it together. Creating a gentle friction that keeps the dynamic alive. If every text she sends gets an immediate enthusiastic response, if every plan she suggests gets instant agreement, if your mood visibly rises and falls with her interest level, you've eliminated all the polarity. The attraction flattens. Not because you're not a good man, but because there's no tension left for desire to live in. Try this. Next time she teases you, tease her back. When she tells you something she's proud of, question it playfully before you agree. Let her work a little to win your approval sometimes. She'll enjoy it more than she would ever admit. Because the part of her that wants to be with a man who can't be fully controlled, that part is ancient and it's loud. Make her feel like she's winning something worth winning. The third signal is selective attention. And this one quietly separates the men who get chosen from the men who get overlooked. If a man is always available, if his schedule bends effortlessly to fit around her, if there's never a moment when he has somewhere else to be or something else he cares about, his attention becomes worthless. Not because he's a bad person, because value is determined by scarcity. A man with a full life, goals he's working toward, friendships that matter, work he takes seriously, hobbies that genuinely absorb him. That man's attention is worth something. When he gives it, it means something. She feels chosen, not defaulted to. This isn't about playing games. It's about actually building a life you care about. Because when you have one, the dynamic shifts naturally. You stop over-investing in people who haven't earned it. Your time becomes something people want access to rather than something you offer freely to anyone who accepts. She should feel like getting your full attention is an event, not an assumption. If this is making sense so far, hit subscribe and join the Gentle Mind community. It helps more men learn what they were never taught. Every video we make is designed to give you the understanding that changes how you move through the world. Now, the fourth signal, and this one surprises men every time I explain it. Intentional listening, not nodding and waiting for your turn to speak. Actual, precise, remembered listening, the kind where you bring up something she mentioned 3 weeks ago, where you notice that the thing she says doesn't bother her, actually does, where you ask the follow-up question she didn't expect you to ask. Women are accustomed to being heard on the surface. Men often listen for content, for the facts of what she's saying, but she's rarely communicating only in facts. She's communicating in feelings, in implications, in the spaces between words. When you learn to track those things, she experiences something rare. She feels emotionally seen, and that feeling is addictive. Think about someone in your life, a mentor, a close friend, who really listened to you. Not to advise, not to fix, just to understand. Recall how it felt to be in that conversation. You trusted them. You opened up. You wanted to spend more time around them. When you become that for her, she starts to associate you with that feeling. Safety, depth, being understood. And she will return to where she feels that over and over again. Remember one small thing, use it later. Watch what happens. The fifth signal is calibrated vulnerability. This is where most men either overcorrect or avoid entirely. Some men, in an attempt to build intimacy, open up too much too fast. They share their fears, their past wounds, their anxieties, all before a real foundation is laid. And what feels like honest connection from the inside often reads as emotional instability from the outside. Not because vulnerability is wrong, but because timing and calibration matter. On the other side, men who are completely closed, who never share anything real, who deflect every personal question with humor or deflection. Those men feel safe on the surface but empty underneath. She can't get close because there's no actual door. Calibrated vulnerability is the middle path. It means sharing real things. Things that show you've lived, that you face difficulty, that you're human, while framing them from a place of strength. Not, I fell apart, but I went through something hard and it changed how I see things. Not victimhood. Perspective. A man who has faced his own darkness and come out with something to say about it is deeply compelling. He's not performing toughness. He's carrying real experience without being crushed by it. She sees that and thinks, this man has depth. Share something real. Frame it from strength. Let her earn the deeper layers. The sixth signal is gradual physical touch. And I want to be clear. This must always be respectful, appropriate, and consensual in spirit. Touch is one of the most powerful bonding mechanisms in human psychology. When done correctly, it triggers oxytocin, the neurochemical responsible for attachment, trust, and emotional warmth. When done too aggressively or too quickly, it triggers the opposite. Gradual means intentional. A brief touch on the shoulder when you agree with something she said. A light touch on the arm when you're walking together. The kind that's natural, not performed. The kind that communicates confidence without grasping. What this does, over time, is create a physical history between you. Her nervous system starts to associate your presence with warmth and safety. The space between you begins to feel comfortable rather than uncertain. And she starts to close that space herself. Let touch build like trust. Slowly, confidently, without agenda, the seventh signal, the one I promised you. The one almost nobody uses correctly. Controlled unpredictability. This is the most misunderstood concept in male-female dynamics. When men hear be unpredictable, they think it means flaking on plans, being inconsistent, blowing hot and cold. That's not what this is. That's just chaos. And chaos doesn't create desire. It creates anxiety. Controlled unpredictability is strategic variance inside a foundation of reliability. It means you're consistent in character and values, like she always knows who you are, but variable in action and expression. Sometimes you respond quickly, sometimes you're genuinely absorbed in your life and she waits a few hours. Sometimes you suggest something completely spontaneous. Sometimes you're deeply present and attentive. Sometimes you're focused elsewhere. The brain's dopamine system responds most powerfully to variable reward. Not guaranteed reward and not denied reward. Variable. It's the same mechanism that makes certain experiences impossible to put down. When she can't fully predict your next move but can trust your character, her brain stays engaged. Her attention stays on you. The man who is completely predictable becomes furniture. The man who is reliably himself but occasionally surprising becomes someone she thinks about. Be the man she never quite has fully figured out, not because you're hiding, but because you're genuinely full. Now let me bring this all together. You came into this video probably feeling like the problem was you, that there was something fundamentally missing, that women picked up on some invisible flaw you couldn't identify or fix. But that's not what was happening. What was happening is that you were operating on instinct in a game that rewards understanding. You were generous in ways that eliminated value. You were open in ways that created uncertainty. You were present in ways that removed mystery. None of that makes you a bad man. It makes you an untrained one. And here's what changes right now. You understand presence. You understand that her subconscious is reading your energy before your words land. You understand emotional challenge and why polarity keeps attraction alive. You know that your attention must mean something, which means your life must mean something. You know how to listen in a way that makes her feel seen, how to be vulnerable in a way that shows depth without performing weakness, how to use touch as a bridge rather than a demand, and how to remain interesting not through mystery games but through genuine fullness. These aren't tricks, they're tools. And like any tool, their power comes from the intention behind them. Use these with respect. Use them with honesty. Not to manipulate, but to stop self-sabotaging. Not to chase, but to become. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to change who you are. You need strategy layered onto sincerity. And now you have it. The man who understands this doesn't get more anxious around women he's attracted to. He gets calmer because he's no longer guessing. He's no longer hoping she'll ignore all the ways he's working against himself. He's working with the actual psychology of attraction, and that changes everything. You just leveled up, quietly, without her knowing, and that's exactly how it should work. If you're ready to stop chasing and start becoming the man women genuinely desire, subscribe to The Gentle Mind now. Turn on notifications, because the next video will shift your reality again. Everything we build here is designed for men who are done guessing and ready to understand. We'll see you there.